Every gamer knows that Spider-Man on the PS4 really made you feel like Spider-Man. Does the Nintendo Switch's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 make you feel like the Ultimate Alliance 3?
You seem distressed, my friend.
No.
Just my luck. I came here to drop off the lizard, but now I'm the one whose tail is getting kicked.
No, Groot would never say that. I don't know what Groot would say, but he wouldn't say that. And if you're gonna say that's Rocket, that doesn't sound like Rocket either. Not Cockney Rocket, not Bradley Cooper Rocket.
It don't matter. None of this matters.
When I see shit like this, I do not feel very inserted into this Marvel universe. It gets some things right. I think it's kind of cool how they blend the MCU with the comic books. It's a great introduction to Marvel if all you know is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you know anything about the Marvel comics outside the Cinematic Universe, this story is generic and boring as hell. And you could argue that the X-Men Legends and Marvel Ultimate Alliance games never had great stories to begin with, but at least they went through the effort of making you feel like you were inserted in this universe. In Ultimate Alliance 2, you actually have to pick a side of pro or anti-registration, prohibiting you from playing certain characters. You could have unique dialogue with NPCs based on who you're playing as. I mean, they even took out trivia in Ultimate Alliance 3. Trivia. Maybe I'm alone in this, but I thought the trivia was some of the most fun parts of the game. It's just something a little extra for the Marvel fan, and I would imagine it takes very little effort to put something like that in. At least you can say the campaign starts strong. You begin as the Guardians of the Galaxy, and right off the bat you're given 4 very different characters. This is a great way to introduce you to how each character performs a different function. In the beginning, the cutscenes make sense because you're tracking the characters you're able to play as. But once you start unlocking more and more heroes, it just starts throwing randos in the cutscenes. To me, this is really disengaging. No one character really matters. Just don't think about it. There's nothing about it that makes it unique. Conversely, you have the final boss in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, Nanite Nick Fury. It's so fucking weird, but at least you can call it different. Trying something new. I would have taken anything other than fucking Thanos. I have Thanos fatigue, sorry. Okay, so the story and the lore sucks, but there are things I do like about the game. I think the combat is really accessible. It's really easy to jump into this game and understand the basics. Ultimate Alliance is like Gauntlet Legends or Diablo. It's your typical dungeon crawler. But in Ultimate Alliance 3, the combat is actually much more similar to games like Dynasty Warriors, in that you've got waves of enemies to clear, lesser enemies, medium-sized enemies with purple stagger bars, and large enemies and bosses with preset moves you have to avoid, and typically a much more systematic way of taking down that stagger bar. And I think this combat system is much more engaging than the previous. I found myself paying attention more, and that's saying something. I think the game shines brightest when you're managing that output of ability attacks, basic attacks, and extreme attacks. Using your basic to build up your energy, to use your ability to build up your extreme, knowing which ones do stagger damage and regular damage. I think it's got a nice flow to it. It would be even better if I knew what was going on the screen more than half the time. I like the attention to detail they paid with the basic light and heavy attacks. The basic attacks aren't the same across the board. They're all unique to each character. Certain characters have basic attacks that are just as good as their ability attacks. Like Magneto's heavy attack, he's got these purple orbs that suck all the enemies together. Or Colossus, his heavy attack is he pounds the ground and does all this AoE damage. And I love that attention to detail. All I'm asking is you expand on it even more. Copy the Diablo 3 system full on and make basic attacks customizable. I like the DLC for the campaign and the characters, but it should have been free. What are you gonna do? What I don't like it for is the gauntlets and the danger rooms. I think they're total ass and not even worth your time. Gauntlets have ridiculous requirements which force you to play the same challenges over and over and over again. And it's so weird, the first time you go through a gauntlet, it doesn't give you the option to keep going. So you're not able to complete all of the challenges on your first go through, which guarantees you're gonna have to play it a second time if you wanna complete those challenges. It's just a big time sink. And speaking of a time sink, the leveling is super slow in this game, making it a complete grind fest. The progression feels akin to a freemium mobile game without all the options to bypass it with real money. You just have to invest a lot of your time. And really, after fighting waves upon waves of enemies, you start to forget who you're fighting. And at a certain point, you're just chasing numbers because you want the numbers to go up because that means you're doing damage. If I had to pick one word to describe this game, it would be grindy. It even gives vanilla World of Warcraft a run for its grinder account. And once you know which moves work, throw out this one, throw out that in this situation, it becomes even more mindless. What I'm trying to say is, once you realize what to do, it's just a matter of doing that thing. I don't find myself getting very creative with the combat. The only thing keeping it from being completely mindless is its arbitrary difficulty. It's got some major difficulty spikes. You'll be bumping along doing just fine, and then all of a sudden you'll come across an enemy you can't do any damage against. So guess what? You gotta grind until you get to a high enough level to play him. That happens a lot in this game. I don't think I would mind leveling up my characters super slowly if I was able to customize them in any unique way. The only customization you're allowed is through these ISO 8 crystals. I hate the ISO 8 crystal system. I hate managing them in every aspect. I hate upgrading them. I hate deconstructing them. I hate organizing them. If your inventory of them fills up, you won't be able to acquire anymore until you remove some. And in order to remove them, you have to go through this item management system that is totally fucked. It is complete shittown 3000.
3,000. That's crazy.
Not to mention, by the end game, the only crystals that matter are white and rainbow, and everything else is useless. The entire system needs to be overhauled and replaced with something good. I still can't believe this made it into the game. There's no character building in 3, you can't customize them outside of the crystals, which feels like a major step down from the previous titles. In the old games, if you wanted to build your Wolverine or your Spider-Man or whoever as a glass cannon, you could. And if your friend wanted to build them as a crowd-controlled tank, they could. Basically, you could build the characters however you wanted to play them, which was a big part of the fun factor. And in 3, you get 4 abilities that are preset and each character just functions a certain way. You can't customize them really outside of the crystals. Costume buffs are gone. Not only are there fewer costumes, but now they're purely cosmetic. They no longer add buffs characteristic of that outfit. Sometimes they're just color palette swaps. So as you can see here in Ultimate Alliance 1, you had all these unique costumes from the comics, and they all offered different attributes, making them play differently. That was part of the whole fun of changing your costume. That's one of many fun parts they decided to get rid of here. Synergy and extreme attacks feel less like you're combining your powers and more like you're just doing them simultaneously. It doesn't feel nearly as cool as the fusion system from 2, and very often it just becomes way too chaotic on the screen. When you're doing 4 extreme attacks at once, you just put the controller down and watch the fireworks display, and it's silly. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really enjoy seeing just damage numbers on enemies. Just let me see the enemy and the health bar, or at least give me the option to turn the number system off. It takes away so much from the combat to me. While I can appreciate that the Infinity Trials are one of the better parts of the game, I just feel like they could be way better. Each challenge is sort of the same thing. Complete this part of the campaign, but this time there's more. More bosses, more enemies, more hazards. Just adding more. And for the parts where you repeat, the puzzles, and I'm putting puzzles in air quotes here, really start to wear on you. Here's what I mean. Like in the Stark Tower, you have to go past these invisible wall lasers, and it's the same path every single time. It never changes. It's one set path for each puzzle. So doing those challenges can get really tedious. Not to mention all the load screens you have to sit through to even get to the challenges. You spend a lot of time loading in this game. And the nature of repetition really hurts this game because it shines a light on the things that suck and aren't fun to play over and over again. For those bosses that require you to use the interactable environment to take down the stagger bars, I have no problem with this in concept. In fact, I really like it. But in this particular execution, it's so dull and lifeless. Shoot Sandman with water. Shoot Ultimo with lasers. Throw bombs at Green Goblin. Throw bombs at Sentinel. Throw magic bombs at Dormammu.
Dormammu, I've come to
Bomb you! And some of the challenges just feel very lazy and arbitrary. Only synergy attacks do damage. Only ability attacks do damage. Only extreme attacks do damage. Only basic attacks do damage. It's so uninspired. How about an Infinity Trial that has nothing to do with the campaign and it's completely unique unto itself? Or how about one where you play as Spider-Gwen helping out Miles Morales take down Scorpion or Hobgoblin or just somebody we haven't seen? I'm just spitballing here, and I feel like it would be more unique than what we got. I just would have rather had these Infinity Trials be their own thing. So in closing, yeah, I had a lot more issues with the game than things that I liked. But still, if you are a Marvel fan, this is probably your best way to get your Marvel fix. Because the only other Marvel games out right now are either freemium mobile games or Lego games. I heard those are pretty good though. I wish this game wasn't a Switch exclusive, because I know that pretty much any other hardware could probably run it better. And look, I understand this is a business. They can just slap Marvel on the title and it will sell. They really don't have to put a whole bunch of effort towards this game in order for it to be successful. But I don't think that means we can't have a good game. There's obviously lots of potential here. It just feels phoned in on this attempt. I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I'm a Marvel fan and I'm a video game fan and I know what I like. And I think opening up a discussion about these things can breed cool new ideas. I'd like to know what you think. If you think I'm totally off and I'm really harsh on this game, let me know. If you've got some better ideas to propose, I'd like to know those too. And please, understand, all these issues that I have with the game came as a result of playing it endlessly. I have had a lot of fun with it. It's a decent game. And that's it. Hopefully that Avengers game that comes out later this year gives us that Marvel fix we've all been craving. Peace.